From Detroit, Michigan, George Howard. From Fresno, California, Vern Downing. From Parkersburg, West Virginia, here at the beautiful Emerson Lanes, in the heart of the Ohio Valley, it's Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show with the world's greatest bowlers in match game competition every week. $75,000 in prizes. This is Fred Wolf. We have 2 more of our field of 24 of these great stars. It's a 3-game match, $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. All competition is sanctioned, of course, by the American Bowling Congress. 300 games are worth $10,000 apiece, and on top of all that, a $250 bonus for 5 strikes in a row in any one game, and $50 more for every strike on top of those 5. It ought to be a great match this week. George Howard of Detroit, Vern Downing from Fresno, California. We'll be ready for the first game of 3 in just one moment. George Howard from Detroit, one of the smallest men in the professional bowling business at 108 pounds. His opponent, Vern Downing. Howard won the toss, elected to start on the left side, starts it off with a real great mixing strike. This little fellow can really toss him, and if he's on the beam, Mr. Downing could very well have his hands full. Vern Downing, we've been mentioning Fresno, California. Vern says it's Mateo. And we have a Californian here with us, young Ron Winger, who is going to tell us more about these boys. There's a little bit high, and Vern gave it the turn, leaves the big 4. 2 on each corner. That gives Howard a running start with a strike in the first frame. And welcome to Championship Bowling, Ron Winger. How are you?
Real good, Fred. It's a pleasure to be here.
Ought to be a pretty good match here, and you know this Downing boy quite well, I understand.
He can really turn the ball, Fred.
Oh, he turned that one. Turned the corner. The 4 and the 7, he'll take 8. Downing open in the first frame. So Downing now moves left, all competition moving from right to left with the exception of the first frame. All games starting on the left side, that bowler bowling 1 complete frame, then his opponent starting from the right to the left, and the competition continues that way throughout the game. $1,000 to the winner. This is Championship Bowling from Parkersburg, West Virginia, television's #1 bowling show. He's high again and broke it up. The 4-6 standing, the 4 out, nothing but the 6 pin. Downing, born in Hillsburg, California, about 70 miles north of San Francisco. Father of 4 children. Started as a pin boy, actually, back in 1947. His first season as a league bowler, 1948, he averaged .201. There's the cover and the spare. So George Howard, at 108 pounds, moving in on the right, a chance to get away to an early lead on a strike. The biggest assignment, as we mentioned here on Championship Bowling, is to get the first strike, and then, of course, get the first double. And if you can do it in the first 2 frames, things should go pretty well for you. Let's see if Howard can do it. Very deep inside angle. And look at that. Well, it seemed, Ronnie, that George dropped that one, but he got a great action down there, didn't he?
Well, being inside like he is, you can get plenty of action from that angle, Fred.
George Horton Howard. They have a couple of nicknames for this guy. They call him Peanuts, and they call him the Detroit Sliver. And a sliver he is. Big reach, and he doesn't get there. Leaves the 2.58, a very difficult shot. And the exclusive AMF spare maker will indicate, put the ball between the 2 and the 5 and hope that it'll follow through and get the 8-pin out of there. So Howard stops at 2. Good shot. Good shot. Well, George was a little concerned whether that ball would follow through to take the 8-pin out. Both these boys throwing 3-finger balls, both fingertips, the wide span. Both get pretty good turn. Downing, of course, throwing the biggest bender. That's high, too. This time the 310. In 6 games on championship bowling, Downing has compiled an average of 205, his high series 660, his high single 245. Compile those figures in the Winston-Salem series in North Carolina. The 3 and the 10, the ball between the 2 pins. Not like that, and Downing is open again. What's the move here, Ronnie? After you've been on the nose 3 straight frames, you got to do something.
Well, in watching Vern on the last shot, he did move his feet in, but he didn't throw the ball out. So it'd be an interesting note here to see if he keeps the same feet angle, but throws the ball out. Let's watch him. He reached out with it.
That's out there. And he's still high. Well, he threw it out and just gave it more turn.
He really turned that one.
And there's another big 4. 2 big 4s in 4 frames, 1 on each side. Along with the baby split, the 310, and Mr. Downing is open in 3 of the first 4 frames. So this gives George Howard, the young Detroiter, a chance to really get out in front. He takes 2. Georgie, a very successful boy on the Professional Bowlers Tour. He is the 1963 Michigan State Match Game champion, averaging 216 for 18 games on championship bowling. 1,700 total. There it is. George was the 3rd leading money winner on the 1961 PBA Tour. Was a member of the National Bowling League champions, the Detroit Thunderbirds, in 1962. He averaged 217 in that league, finishing in the 5th position. Not this time. Whoop, almost. George with a hand in the pockets routine, much like the great actor Carmen Salvino. Quite a story about this fellow. As a youngster, actually started as a pin boy in 1950. Prior to that, he had won the Kalamazoo Bantamweight title in Golden Gloves boxing competition. He injured his left arm playing high school football some years ago. You'll notice he can't straighten his left arm out, but it doesn't seem to bother him. At 108 pounds, might still develop into a jockey. Back to Vern Downing, who has some problems here to figure out. He's been on the nose 4 consecutive frames. That's out there. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. He held that one. Now, Downing seemed to be on the same line. I thought that one was going to jump on the nose, too. He did something differently there, running.
Fred, I think he threw the ball a little bit harder, plus he got it out on the lane a lot better that time.
A little more speed. Downing now moving to the left. So at the end of 5 for Howard, it's 87 spare. Downing now has a double in the 5th and 6th frame. That's there. Solid 10. George Howard playing the very deep angle here on the right side. Set that one beautifully, just could not carry the 10-pin. This little guy was born in Bridgeport, Alabama, back in 1930, moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan in 46, came to Detroit 10 years later, and he's been a great star ever since. Be careful, George. The 10-pin, Georgie pulled that one a little bit, seemed to stick at the foul line. So Howard is open in the 6th frame, 106, 115 in the 6th. Howard now moves left. Gets a good count there on a ball that looked like it may miss the head pin and possibly would have been looking at the washout, Ronnie. Looked like he would never get there.
Well, the ball had a little bit good lift on the end, so it did make it up a little bit.
Recover. Howard with a spare. So it's 115 in the 6th, spare in the 7th for Howard, as Vern Downing, who started with 4 straight nose hits, picking up 3 splits, 2 big 4s, and the 3-10 in the 7th, working on 2, and a lot of room here to pull this game out. That's out there. There we are. And as Ron Winger has pointed out, and Ron, of course, a great boy with the fastball, Mr. Downing has, well, he's sort of throwing about half again as fast as he did the first 4 frames. Quite obvious, Ronnie, as you
Definitely.
pointed out. So Downing moving left now on 3. Boy, he's right back in here now, trailing by only 12 pins after 3 wide open splits. Howard started with a double. This strike will put Downing within a couple of pins. That's no good. Oh, look at that! Oh, ho! Well, the Angels are flying for this fella. With the start he had, he now has 4 in a row, and he's knocking on the bonus door department. 5 strikes in a row in any one game, $250 and $50 for every strike on top of the 5. George Howard, who had the big start, made a mistake in the 6th. The solid 10-pin, he missed it. He carries that one. So at the end of 8, we have practically a tie match. Howard is 135 with a strike in the 8th. Downing is potential 133. So there's only 2 pins now separating these 2 boys on championship bowling from Parkersburg, West Virginia. You see 2 of the nation's greatest stars in action every week on television's #1 bowling show. 2 high the 4, 7, 10. So Howard, unable to take advantage of his strike, a fill here by Downing in the 9th will put Vern out in front. And he was trailing by 45 pins at the end of the 4th frame. He can have himself a 20-pin lead in the 9th if he can get a couple of more strikes. The 4, 7, 10. Great try, but too much of the 4. Vern Downing, his highest total on television in 1961, Salt Lake City, Utah. He shot 682 for 3 games. Be a nice spot to top that with the start that he had. A 680 here this week would be quite a thing. On 4, $250. Here comes he. Well, there's the sign of a great champion, Ronnie. I think you'll agree with me. When you're down as Mr. Downing was, way down with 3 opens in the first 4, he straightened himself out beautifully here now, and he has 5 strikes in a row.
Speed made all the difference, Fred.
Looked like Vern might have been a little shaky there the first couple of frames and forgot about the speed.
Right.
Another $50 with this one. Poor Finn stops him. Pretty good hit. Seemed to be a little outside. Looked like he might have drifted a bit to the right. And coming in from out there with the type of ball this fella throws, that 4-pin's going to pop up on you. But he got the 5th one, the big one, for $250 in bonus money. And he has himself a 20-pin lead going into the 10th frame. Now he trailed by 44. So he's picked up over 60 pins in 5 frames. The cover and the count will give him 202.
Yep.
So Vern Downing, who on the 1963 PBA Winter Tour won some $6,300. He was runner-up in the Boston Open to Andy Marcich, one of our group of 24 great stars. He was runner-up in the Indianapolis Open to Les Schisler. Yeah, it is. That's the ball. Well, that was one late. So Vern Downing settles for 202, and that's pulling yourself by the bootstraps and getting out of a game that could have been around 150 to 160 very easily had he given up, but he didn't. He started to speed the ball up, held his line beautifully, came out with 5 in a row. Howard with another 10-pin. George has won 2 PBA events. In 1961, he won the Las Vegas Open. He was the 3rd leading money winner in 61. In 62, he won the Niagara Falls Open. He finished 3rd in 62 in the World's Invitational in Chicago, a great event. And Mr. Howard is having trouble sticking, and he has missed his second 10-pin on the same lane, and he now settles for 172. So at the end of the first of 3, on Championship Bowling from Parkersburg, West Virginia, Downing 202, George Howard 172. We'll be back for the second of 3. This is Fred Wolf, along with Ron Winger, right after an interesting word. Here are the scores for the first game. George Howard, 172. Vern Downing cashed in at the Bowden's department, 202. A nice string of 5 in a row after a very bad start. Downing out in front by 30 pins. Howard had 4 strikes. Downing had only 5, but he put them together, and he picks himself up $250 in bonus money. We're ready for the second game of 3 here on Championship Bowling in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Are you ready, Parkersburg? Vern Downing ready to start the second of 3 games here on Championship Bowling from Parkersburg, West Virginia. Television's #1 bowling show, the greatest stars in the nation in action every week. Downing with a 30-pin lead. Throws, he's there and he carries. Oh, he buried that one. Downing with that 5-bagger went in a little bit tight in the 10th, left the 4-pin, converted, came back with a strike, and now starts with a strike on the left side. Georgie Howard moves in on the right. George has missed 2 10-pins on this side. Had 3 open frames the first game. There's the turn. And Georgie talking to the ball. George saying, giddy up there. He knew he was out there where he wanted to be. So both boys off with a strike. And this could be the game we've been waiting for. Howard to the left. You notice he looks down at the approach. He puts that left toe exactly where he wants it. The big turn. Doesn't get there. The 2, 4, 5, and the 8. They call this one the bucket. And let's take a look at the exclusive AMF spare maker, which indicates one of the 1,023 possible spare leaves. And it very simply says, according to the arrow, to put the ball between the number 2 and the number 5 pin. But make sure it keeps on going to get the 8. There's the idea. Very well done. So Howard unable to get the double. He started the first game with a double. Looked like he was going to keep going. Hasn't been able to pick up a double since. Downing, who trailed by 44 pins in the 5th frame, wound up winning the game by 30. He picked up 74 pins in the last 6 frames. 1 double. There it is. Well, Ronnie, this is a little better start for Downing than he had in the first game.
Well, Verne seemed to be a little tight toward the first game, and after he's stringing those 5 in a row, he's pretty loose now. He's throwing the ball real good.
That's 2. The margin now 40 pins. Downing out in front. We're in the 3rd frame of the second game. Will it be 3? Oh, look at that. A lot of lift, and Verne gave it all the room it needed, and he brought it back for the solid pocket hit. That's 3 in a row. Actually 4. He finished the first game with 1. So George Howard, 108 pounds of dynamite from the Motor City of Detroit, finds himself trailing by some 50 pins. 4 pin, he gets the nudge, but the 4 pin is still up there. In the Professional Bowlers Tour, Georgie also cashed in 1962 in Winston-Salem. He was runner-up in the Winston-Salem Open. He was also second in the Canadian Open in Montreal. There's the cover. Actually won over $20,000 in 1962 on the PBA Tour. He was the 6th leading money winner. And believe me, it proves one thing: you just don't have to be a big guy to throw that bowling ball. Takes a little rhythm, a little finesse, and you have it just like that. So Howard looking very good occasionally, but unable to string them out now. We'll watch his opponent, Verne Downing, take his 2 turns on the lane. And Verne has also moved to the deep inside here on the right side, lane 38 at the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia, host of the 1964 International Moose Tournament. Look out! No kick on the 4. He had the speed there, Ronnie, but he didn't seem to give it quite enough room.
He's tried to fit that one, Fred. Tried to put it right in the pocket instead of letting it swing.
Well, this boy definitely comes in the category of a swinger. This boy really gets the ball out there. And back it comes. There's the cover. Downing's a pretty good boy over the long route, too. In 1960, he won the Max Kossoff Endurance Classic out in Ogden, Utah. 20 games. He averaged .211. You bowl 20 games without stopping. I guess you have a sandwich en route. Is that the way they do that, Ronnie? Have you ever bowled in that event?
Yes, I have.
Do you get hungry?
Oh, yeah. You got to have a sandwich in between.
Downing again. He's there. He's there, and the 8-pin jumps up. Oh, my. That could be 5 in a row. A 4-pin and an 8-pin. Ronnie, you haven't been in the game too long, but some of the veterans will tell you this is really the only tap. Now, the word tap is used so much, but the bowlers say this is the really the only tap. Do you agree with that?
Definitely. This is the only true tap in bowling, the solid 8-pin.
Now, when you leave a solid 10, a wraparound 10, if that isn't a tap, then what do you call it?
Well, actually, it's due to a bad angle, or maybe you threw the ball a little harder than you have been, and the 6-pin wraps right around it. It's not really a tap. Solid 8-pin is the only real tap in bowling.
Look out, George. Too high again, the 4-pin. Howard unable, of course, to get his double. He started with 2 good pocket hits. Then he was short, leaving the 2-5-8, and George actually has not straightened himself out since. He's thrown a good ball here and a good ball there, but able to put them together. The 4-pin, we're in the 5th of the second game. Howard with the cover. Now is 79 spare. Verne Downing is 98 spare. We're in the 6th, second game. Howard throws much too high, breaks it up, leaves the 6-10. People throughout Europe, Asia, South America, and the Middle East desperately need your support. Your dollars mean food for them. Why not send a contribution to CARE, New York 16, New York. 6-10, and he covered. Howard now, 97 spare, has not had an open. Vern Downing going into the 6th, working on a spare. In case you tuned in late, Vern Downing at the end of 4 frames in the first game had 43. He had 2 big 4s and a baby split. But this is not the Vern Downing we were looking at the first 4 frames. He straightened himself out in a hurry, piled up 5 in a row to cash in the bonus department, started this game with 3, left a solid 4, then a solid 8, and now another strike in the 6th. He still has room for the 5 in a row. That's out there. He's got it. So Mr. Downing is on his way again with 2. It'll be George Howard now, moving in on the right side, working on a spare. Too high, and George wide open again. The 6, 7, 10. George didn't seem to have near the speed on that one that he needed.
He slowed up considerably on that one.
You've got to throw the hard one here in Parkersburg this year on championship bowling to hold that line. The 6, 7, 10. Howard trying to get it off the kickback, and he's open. 123 in the 7th. Vern Downing still working on 2 strikes, piling up a tremendous margin here. Started with 3 this game, lost 2 good hits, and came right back with 2. George Howard. The Detroit Sliver. There we are. You've probably noticed these fellas on championship bowling with their very colorful bowling uniforms. Of course, you can't see the colors. Bright yellow. These are matching King Louis bowling shirts and slacks used exclusively on championship bowling. 4-3. Solid 10th pin. Well, here's Downing starting with the 5th frame of that second game. He hasn't thrown a ball out of the pocket. He had strikes in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, a solid 4 pin in the 10th. He started this game with 3, left a solid 4, then a solid 8, now 2, and the solid 10. Hang on. He's got it. So Vern reaches for his heart on that one. He thought it might get away from him. Downing was the winner of the 1963 Riverside, California Tournament of Champions. The last 2 games of that event was on television, and Downing shot .257 and .267 in defeating Buddy Horn. Well, not this time. That's the first time he's been out of the pocket since the 4th frame of the first game, leaving the 3-6. Did you compete in that Riverside, California event?
Yes, I did, Fred.
Mr. Downing was a little tough there.
Oh, he was really winging him.
He was winging him, but you're the winger. Ring-ding winner, that winger they call him out there. The 3 and the 6. He covered. Not by too much, but he covered. So Downing still kicking around 230, as George Howard has a long way to go. He's on a strike. Let's see if he can cash this one in. He has a chance for the $500 bonus. He's got to go all the way. 10 pin. George's ball not finishing down there, especially when he's out in the pocket area. It looks like when he goes in on the high hit that the ball has a tendency to jump a bit, but when he is a little on the short side, the ball doesn't finish. Howard has missed 2 10 pins on this side. Got that one. This fellow's quite a little golfer. We've had the privilege of playing with George many times, and for a little guy, he can hit that ball pretty good. And with that crooked left arm, kind of reminds me of Ed Fergal, who's been a fair to Midland golfer for a good many years, former National Open champion. Georgie just turns his head. He's too high, the 310. You know, one reason why we talk to you folks about going bowling, aside from the fun you get out of it, it's great recreation, especially true for you housewives. It's natural, it's advisable to seek diversion for a short time while the youngsters are in school. It's a lot of fun. You can talk about it. Howard is open again in the 10th for 170. 170. You know, it's just as important to you housewives, I'm sure, as that coffee break is for the working girl. So why don't you take a break from your daily routine around the house? Join an afternoon league. You'll have a picnic. Here comes Downing. Solid 10. Well, that's what he did in the 8th frame. Same hit, same result. Any comment on those last two 10 pins, Ronnie?
Well, I say that the solid 8-pin is the only real true tap in bowling.
What was
looked
that?
awful good. Looked awful good.
Awful good. Cross lane, Downing has the spare. So Verne now with one more ball here in the 10th. He cashed in with his 5 in a row in the first game. He certainly went after it this game. He put the first 8 balls right in the slot, no doubt about it. A 4, an 8, and a 10 pin. 224 with the count. Too high. The 3 and the 6 for 3 deuces. 222. Howard, 170. One game remaining here on Championship Bowling from Parkersburg, West Virginia. This is Fred Wolf. We'll be back for the third and final in just a short moment. Here are the scores at the end of 2 games. George Howard, 172 and 170. The total 342 for Verne Downing, 202 and 222. The total 424. Ready for game number 3. Are you ready, Parkersburg? George Howard, the young Detroiter at 108 pounds, trailing his opponent by 82 pins. 82 pins. Oh, he's got a long route. He threw that one out. And he doesn't get there, leaves the 2-pin. George Howard, who is knocking on the door of getting into the history book of championship bowling. But it'll be a very embarrassing one. The lowest 3 games ever shot. Maury Kramer of Albany, New York, 508 in the Paramus, New Jersey series some years ago. So George will have to pay attention. There's the cover. Going to need about 167, I believe. Is that right? John Milanese, the manager here at the Emerson Lanes, our statistician, he checks with us on that. He needs 169 or he's going to set a new record. Here's Verne Downing. Bowled a very strong 222 the last game. He's right back there. So Downing now moving to the left. Total of 424. Needs the big game. Both of these boys will return in another appearance on Championship Bowling, meeting a different opponent. The top 2 men for the 6 games in their 2 appearances qualify for the finals with a $15,000 added purse. So not only is the individual match important, the bonus money important, but the total pins they shoot important. Mr. Downey made a mistake. Too high, leaves the 6-pin. He got away with one in the first game. He had 2 and caved 1 in, came right back with 2 to get the $250 bonus with 5 in a row. So Downing will have to start all over again, unable to get the double. The 6-pin, cross lane converted. George Howard now moving in on the right side. A lot of the fans here in Parkersburg trying to encourage George to get loose. He sure hasn't been up to now. How about this one? Well, he finally got it in there, and the 10-pin stands. The 6-pin still lying in the channel there, which, as Ron Winger, sitting in with us this week, has explained, actually, a 10-pin is not a real tap. It's a situation of the ball not hitting the 1-3 pocket properly. Is that the way you put it, Ronnie?
Right.
That was obvious because the 6-pin didn't even hit the 10. Well, Howard has missed his third 10-pin on the right side. Possibly I should ask Ronnie, for the benefit of our viewers who might not know what the word tap means. How do you define the word tap in bowling, Ronnie?
Well, tap, in my way I define it, is leaving a pin by hitting the pocket solid. Like George left the 10-pin, but we don't consider that a tap. The 8-pin is the only true tap, as we talked about before.
Really, though, the word tap actually means I was robbed.
All right.
Is that about the way it goes with the bowler? And, of course, many bowlers are tapped hundreds and hundreds of times because they think they should have had the strike. Here's Downing. We're in the third. That'll never get there. Boy, that one was out on the boulevard. Downing taking the scenic route. And the AMF Magic Triangle Pindicator indicates the 1, 2, 7, 8. The Spearmaker indicates a Brooklyn hit, the ball between the 1 and the 2. And with Downing's ball, if he can get it there, it shouldn't be too difficult because the ball should follow on through and hit the 7. It's a beautiful shot to watch. The boys don't like to shoot at it. And there it goes. He missed the head pin. In fact, he picked out the 2 and the 8. That was hard to believe. How that ball didn't reach the 7-pin.
It's the first time I've ever seen that, Fred.
Well, I
Very
believe
unusual.
the answer there is that because the ball missed the head pin, it went on through. Had he just grazed the head pin, that would have ricocheted the ball slightly to keep it going left, and he would have picked up the spare. Tough break for Downing. We're in the fourth. Hey, hey! Well, he got away with that one. The fourth frame for Downey with the strike as Howard moves in the fourth, and Georgie looking for his first double since the first 2 frames. What do you know? What do you know? That's the ball. I haven't seen Howard throw one like that since the first 2 frames. He better get 168 or we're going to put him in the history book here for having the lowest 3 games on championship bowling over these many years as you've watched it from the country over. Be careful, George. The 6-10. You've watched championship bowling, no doubt, in your city from Chicago, Paramus, New Jersey, Northbrook, Illinois, Coral Gables, Florida, Skokie, Illinois, Toledo, Ohio, Louisville, Kentucky, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And here we are this year in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and George almost had one. So there's the cover. We're halfway for Howard in the third and final as Downing moves in on the right. He's on a strike in the fourth. Be careful. He got the 4 out of there. Boy, this Downing really can sail with that thing. Looked like he was going to be even thin. Mixer when he first started, then it moved. Looked like the might set, kept right on going. So at the end of 5, Downing is on 2. Howard is 76 spare. Going for 3. Too high. 3-6. Do you feel, Ronnie, that Vern possibly might have just as much success on the left side as he is having on 38 if he was a little deeper? He's not playing the left side as deep as the right side.
He's playing alley 38 a little deeper. If he was a little deeper on 37, I think he would have a little more success.
There's the cover.
Seems to...
Being the youngster that you are from California, the word alley should not be in your vocabulary, Ronald. Let's keep it lane. There's a nice strike by George. Well, this is the Howard we've seen many times in action. He's thrown some pretty good balls this game. He left a 10-pin and missed it. Of course, he's missed 3 10-pins, all on the same lane. He's just a bit concerned. He managed to stick there the first 10-pin he shot at, and it's been bothering him ever since. We're in the 7th. Howard is on a strike. He was too high the last time. 4-pin this time. Well, this game seems to follow a pattern many times. When you're down, this game can keep you down. And you found it that way, I'm sure.
That's for sure.
You're better off to get him in a bunch, like Downing did when he started. He had 3 big splits the first 4 frames, 43 in the 4th. And since then has bowled very well. There's still room here for both boys for that 5-timer. And I would imagine that George Howard in his next appearance might be just a little tough on some opponent. That's way out there. There's the washout, the 1-2-10. And Downing getting a bit careless. The AMF Sparemaker indicates the ball between the 1 and 2 pins. And hope, of course, that the 1 doesn't go around the 10. Go. There it is. Nice shot. Vern Downing, who now has lost 11 pins in counts this game. 109 with a spare in the 7th. Howard leading by 7 pins in the 3rd game. He trailed by 82 going into the final. We're in the 8th. Downing throws. He's too high again. This time he's wide open. The 6-7-10. Seems to be making the same mistake over there on the left side quite a few times, Ronnie.
He's trying to go around instead of playing deep. That's the answer, I think.
Because he's had actually all of his bad pitches have been on the left. He hasn't thrown any too far out of the pocket on the right side. 38 here. Well, he gave it a great try, but Mr. Downing is open in the 8th, and George Howard just doesn't have enough time left here to take advantage of Downing's open frame in the 8th. This one and 4 more. He leaves the 10, so no more bonus money this week. Downey cashed in the first game with 5 in a row, then left the solid 4-pin. Howard unable to keep going. He's in pretty good shape for that 168 game to keep him off the record books as having the lowest 3 games ever bowled on championship bowling.
Oh.
He's going to make this one. Yes, sir. From the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia, you are watching Championship Bowling. Television's #1 bowling show. Over $75,000 in prizes. There it is. Well, George just got himself out of the record book right there with that one. I don't think he would have liked that honor or distinction. We're in the 9th now for Vern Downing from Mateo, California. Whoa, something happened there. And we have another washout by Mr. Downing. So Vern, who looked real good from the 5th frame out of the first game, in his second game, a very strong 222 with just one ball out of the pocket, has had his problems this game. He missed a head pin here, left the 1-2-4-7 in the 3rd. He missed a head pin in the 7th with a washout. He has missed it again here in the 10th, and he doesn't convert it this time. Correction, in the 9th. So he has 141 in the 9th. Downing moving left. And he has tied right now the all-time low game of Harold Esplin, 141. Of course, he has one frame to go. The cover here should give him 161 with a full count. So the scoring is bogged down a bit this week. But there's more to come, as you see two great stars in action every week, and anything is liable to happen. Might even have a 300 score. That'll be worth 10,000 additional dollars. The cover by Downing. The count 161. The Magic Triangle Pindicator, the Magic Triangle Circle Ball Return, the AMF Spare Maker. All ingenious devices that are AMF exclusive inventions that help speed up your game and help improve your average every time. There's 9. Count for 160. And the total for Downing unofficially will be 584. George Howard, a chance for 215. At least he can say he won the 3rd game, but he just had too many to pick up. There we are.
That's the George Howard we know, Fred.
Yes,
right
sir.
There.
That's the ball he's famous for. The real swinger. Chance for 215. George can actually beat his opponent by some 55 pins in the 3rd game. And he's still going to lose the match by about 27. There it comes. There it is. Now George checking his watch. He's going to be one short of the $250 bonus. He'll only have 4 in a row. He had 1 in the 9th. He lost a good hit in the 8th, a good hit in the 7th. He was on a strike in the 6th. Too high. He gets 9 of them for 214. We'll be right back now to check these scores, have a word or two with these two fine bowlers from Parkersburg, West Virginia on Championship Bowling. This is Fred Wolf along with Ron Winger. Thanks to Ron for sitting in with us. And we'll be right back here in just a short minute. Here are the scores. George Howard, 172, 170, and 214, the total 556. For Vern Downing, 202, 222, 160, the total 584. The winner, Vern Downing. Let's give him a hand. George, you don't know what we were talking about up there, Ron Winger and I, but you know you were very close to getting in the history book of championship bowling by rolling the lowest 3 games ever bowled.
Did I get anything extra for that?
You were flirting. You needed about 170, but you came through in great style for 556. I know you can do better.
I think I could do a lot better. It's just that a little stickiness there on the left side got me to jerking my arm through instead of stroking it through nice and easy.
Well, you'll be back making another appearance. You might make it a little rough on somebody.
I think I can.
You hope to. Vern, here's your runner-up fee, $500. I don't want to forget that.
Nothing.
For you, Vern, $250 for that 5-bagger in the first game. The winners share $1,000.
Thank you.
I know you can improve on that score.
I know I can improve on the last game.
All right.
I'm sure of that.
We'll look forward to that on your next appearance. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 great bowlers, Vern Downing, George Howard. Well, we sure hope you can join us again next week when Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show with over $75,000 in prizes, will again originate from the beautiful Emerson Lanes here in Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Until then, this is Fred Wolf just reminding you that you don't have to play a sport good to be a good sport. Goodbye. Matching shirts and slacks used on championship bowling by King Louie. Championship bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, and we wish to thank AMF for their cooperation in helping us to produce championship bowling.